I'm Robert Bell.
I'm Dawson. I'm Andrew.
And this is the Adrenaline Factory. When we started building this car, the wide body and stuff was already on here, and we decided that we were going to basically take this style of bumper, or Robby decided that he wanted like the Nismo bumper, so we are widening the back part of the Nismo bumper to fit with the wide body flares that he had already had on the car. So the whole idea was the fact that this was going to be a custom one-off setup that only he would have. We originally thought that maybe we could do it a little bit simpler, and ultimately we just resulted back to exactly the way that we discussed it on how we were gonna. So basically what I'm doing is I'm getting a thin layer on there to hold the bumper in shape. If you look, there's heavy low spots in here. So ultimately what we're going to do is I'm going to sand that thin on the back and then add a couple layers to the back to make it strong. And then on a lot of those I'll fill them in until like I'll cut away little sections and raise it up, and then we'll re-glass over it. And then once it's actually in the right shape, then we'll just sand all the extra off, because I need to get some sort of a structure in there to keep the bumper the right shape. And then I can go at it and, you know, add, like this right here is fit pretty well from here to here. You'll see that this is a low spot, so that'll just get maybe 3 layers here. But like there's a really low spot here because the bumper is, that flat part is too low. So I'm gonna build that in a couple layers, and then I'll sand off from the back, and that'll thin it out so it's not an insanely heavy bumper. So we are on to curing this section of the body panel here. We just put a thin layer on to hold it in place so I can build the rest of this, but we're using this UV light here to cure this stuff, because it is not a 2-part catalysted style resin. It is just UV activated. Also, if you're coming across from our Instagram, welcome to our YouTube channel. And if you haven't seen our Instagram and would like to, we are on there as well. We are back on the rear quarter panels, basically doing what we did with the front. It's a little bit different back here, but basically the same concept. So this was originally on there like this. So exactly like we did on the front, we cut this out and we're gonna lean this in a little. I'm also gonna actually pull this down. This was the original body line, and this is gonna become the body line. So this one will actually go up higher and create another one. So basically we started out with trying to figure out exactly how I was going to hold this out to where it needed to be. I mean, I was going to weld some intricate brackets temporarily onto the chassis, maybe tab them to hold it in place, and I just decided I could just as easily do it off the floor if I squared something off of it. So what we did is we centerlined the car, and then I projected the wide body width out on the floor. You can probably see it a little bit through the dust here. And then I'm basically using my electronic level and my T-squares to project those marks up to this height on this this pallet right here. And this is just kind of free floating. And then I'll temporarily fiberglass this into place, which is probably gonna be a little bit ugly, and then we'll take the panel off and fiberglass it from the inside and then redo it from the outside. If we don't do it that way, what's gonna happen is the body line that I've already marked out on this piece is gonna be in the wrong spot if I do all my fiberglass from the outside first. So after we get this stuff on and mounted, then I'll make a cardboard template to go in between here and put some clear tape over it, so the fiberglass won't stick to it, and we'll be able to peel all that off. On this, we're using these wooden paint sticks because over a long period of time of doing fiberglass work, on a lot of this heavy stuff, I used to make metal tabs and drill holes through them, kind of like what we did on top of the quarter panel. We had to do that one because the weight of the fiberglass was just too much for the hot glue. But if you do them this way, then you don't have to go back and fill all your holes in, which is a lot more time consuming than you may think if you're doing a lot of panels like this. So also this will give us the right spacing to float this panel out there while we fiberglass these spots in. And then I can remove these wooden blocks easily and then go back and fiberglass in those areas. Cut down a lot of time. We're going to be doing this fiberglass over this. We finally got this templated out and got the clear tape over it. I got it as far as I really need to go, because anything farther than that I actually have to cut the front and pull it in a little bit because it kind of squares off a lot. And I want this to continue an arch or an arc coming around here to kind of fade it into the front. So what I'll do is I'll actually fiberglass this not to the end of the cardboard here, but to the edge of this arch, and then we'll cut it and taper it off. But first we need to build some rigidity in here first. All right, we just got all the bolts out. We got a couple pieces of wood on top of the tire to hold it up where it needs to be. Basically pushed back up against the pallet so we can move this away and hopefully it stays still. So the wide body, in order to get it to look right and to curve out right without being drastic in the back section, we brought it all the way forward, kind of like how the Rocket Bunny kits are. And wanted to just start tipping it out so the front doesn't look as aggressive as the back. So we've already marked this out and cut it, and then I'm holding it out exactly an inch right here, because by the time it gets back here it's 2 inches, so it almost doubles in width as it gets back to here. So we moved on to the front half of this flare. This part is actually part of the rocker assembly. So I'm gonna try to get this part a little bit more structurally sound, because this will actually get pulled off and fiberglass from the inside before we finish this. That way I can slightly adjust this so we end up with just fiberglass thickness and not a whole bunch of body filler. We did have to move the wheel arch forward for some reason with this body. When I measured it the first time, the center of the wheel arch was not actually the center of the wheel well. They're kind of distorted in shape, and I didn't like how the Murcielago looked like the wheel was farther forward in the wheel well. We went ahead and moved them forward an inch, and that was done after I had cut the original panel. Now the original cut that I made to make this a clamshell moved forward an inch also. I was kind of deciding whether I wanted to add this little chunk to the front part or what I wanted to do. And what I've decided is I'm gonna leave it alone, and I'm gonna fill this in and leave it as a back cut angle. And I'm gonna put an arrow catch latch right here on this corner, and that'll keep it from being too far back with the wheel clearance, because I need something to hold it down here as well as the two that I'm planning on putting up there. Just because this scoop is going to get a lot of airflow, and I'm afraid that it'll try to open that clamshell if I don't have some additional strength down here. Plus, I won't have to make the backing near as strong in here if I am adding the other two latches. I would really have to back all this structure up really good if I was only relying on the two. We're wrapping this side up, so stay tuned to our channel for more updates.